what am I doing over here on the real estate side? I hate it. Like, it's not fun. The people are churning. I'm begging these people for $2,500 a month, and here people are throwing $5,000 for a placement for me over there. Unless I was gonna become a Hormozy or Grant Cardone as far as like famous and branding, I needed to do something that was a little bit more scalable.
There's a million doors open to you if you want to make 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, but then it becomes, if you want to make 30 million and right now you have a much more directional approach to it.
You can have anything, but you can't have everything. What I said in the first 10 seconds was gonna be a larger determiner of whether that person was gonna be. The platform, is that your?
The platform.
Okay, cool. I like
K-L-A-T-T.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it works
All right.
out. Works out.
I see you.
Well, all right. So first off, I want to start by one. How long have I known you now?
Damn, 7 years, right? 9 years.
Fidel.
Yeah, probably 9 years.
Okay. Yeah, about that long.
Because we weren't in the same pledge class.
No.
Yeah.
I was spring 17.
Yeah, so I think I only knew you for 1 year in the fraternity.
Well, I also I pledged.
Yeah.
And then I left.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah.
I was in for like 1 semester.
Yeah.
And then I was gone.
So I feel like, yes, we met each other my last year in college, but I didn't get to know you until
100%.
7, 8 years
Well, the only
ago.
reason I really knew of you was because Max
Yes.
Muller.
Yes.
Yeah, because we were doing the whole, I can't remember what we called it. It was like elevated marketing and media or something.
Oh, you two together?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
so we gutted out my house and we put like a studio and we were doing like dog parks and like anything we could get.
Wow.
And that was like the start of, because I was managing a bar and they were having me do social media management and he was doing his whole content stuff for like all of those things. So we started doing that stuff and then I was gone. Literally that semester I was out.
Wow.
And I moved into, I think his parents' house for like.
In Vero?
Yeah, for a few months. Then I lived on a freaking air mattress for a few months, and yeah, it was a wild time. But the reason I bring it up is because from when I first met you until I think what was the first company you actually started? Was it Scaling
Prospect Social, my advertising agency.
Yeah, so Prospect Social, and
Yeah.
then that led into Scaling with Systems.
Yes.
And now, is this the third kind of
iteration jump that we've done? Yeah, probably fourth. There was the advertising agency. Scaling with Systems was originally a VA placement company.
Yep.
Then it shifted into pure consulting, where we were working with people who didn't necessarily want VAs anymore. And then the most recent shift was into YouTube Done For You.
Yeah. Well, so back when you were doing the VA placement stuff, I specifically remember because we were doing Social X.
Oh
Do you
my
remember
God! Wow, dude, you're throwing me back.
and-
Yes, with JCab in Tampa.
Yeah.
We almost all lived in that house together.
Yeah,
yes,
dude.
I do remember that.
So I remember you were doing the VA placement, and Justin was like the bankroll for Social X, and I was just like I'll do anything and just build and get my
Sweat
hands on
equity.
stuff. Yeah. And we spent all of Justin's money on that Tampa event, that 3-day long event. We thought we were gonna make money with the event, ticket sales. So afterwards, we were just sitting there spinning, and the VA placement thing was like what was like the default react. Like there was like marketing agencies and social media management, and then there was like VA placement. So we went into that for a little bit. But anyways, I just have a lot of respect for like the different iterations and how seriously you take those.
Appreciate that.
And then also how you've been able to live throughout all of that, because that's something that I've struggled with a lot. Is I'm very analytical and very much on the system side, so that's where I play. My brain just goes there, right, all the time. And now I get to switch into more of a marketing piece, and one of the people that I like to look at for inspiration and how you actually go about doing things is yourself.
Oh wow, thank you.
So for context, if you could just give the audience that's kind of watching this, and I think with my audience it's going to be more larger B2B, you know, I don't think anybody newer is going to be, just because that's never been my audience. But for context, if you could, just your quick background, and we'll lead up to what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I launched, like you said, the advertising agency. I won't go on my full background, which is a longer story, but I had an advertising agency, served real estate agents, scaled that. We were doing multiple 7 figures a year. Realized that I hated working with real estate agents, so pivoted. And at the time, I had joined this mastermind with all these people teaching how to run an agency, and everybody was messaging me because at this point I'm doing $300,000, $400,000 a month. I'm living in Medellin, Colombia, and
I remember that.
Everyone's like, "Yo, how are you like doing this 4-hour work week thing?" Like we both started at the same time, and I was like, "Honestly, it's these VAs. Like I just hire these VAs. They do all the work for me. They're $3 an hour. They're in the Philippines." And these people were like, "Well, can you just like give me one of these VAs? Like ask your VA if they have one." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And that was the genesis. And here I was like working so hard on the real estate advertising agency side. And here, this was just, people were just kind of falling into my lap.
That was the door that just kept.
Exactly. Yeah. I like literally was like, and then funny enough, I know you know Raj, but one of my previous clients who became an employee, he posted in this Facebook group of 40,000 people and was like, "Hey, I've been trying to hit like 20K a month in my agency for 2 years. I did it in 14 days after working with Ravi." And I remember I was actually speaking on stage in New Jersey at this real estate event, and I come off stage and I was taking the sales calls at that point, and we were booked out like 18, 20 days into the future.
And this was like 2019?
Literally right, maybe even end of 2018, 2019.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was at that moment that I was like, okay, like what am I doing over here on the real estate side? I hate it, like it's not fun, the people are churning. I'm begging these people for $2,500 a month, and here people are throwing $5,000 for a placement for me over there.
Yep.
And so I started that. I shut down the agency. I didn't know you could sell agencies or anything like that at the time. I just stopped taking clients, and I would not try to renew them. I was like, okay, if they keep paying me money, we'll keep on working.
Right.
If they want to stop, we'll just stop.
Yep.
And eventually that faded out. I did the VA placement. We ended up doing 1,600 VA placements over the next 2 years. And that was like, we're at Cole Gordon's event, and he was talking about yesterday, like that like precipice point where it's like everything's clicking and like you're like, oh my God, like so we were one of the first really big people to do the VA placement in the industry. Kind of like Cole was one of the first people to do the sales and setter placement. And so when you're first to market like that, you know, there's a great book, I think it's 22 Laws of Marketing, but they say first is better than better. So even if you were trying to be the best VA placement, if you could just be the first one, you're gonna have better response in the marketing.
100%.
So anyway, scaled that, 1,600 placements, and then eventually, looking back, I probably could have kept on scaling it, but I'm just so new in the business. This is all happening in a 2-year time frame. And I just kind of got tired of working with that avatar, which was to what you were saying a second ago, like more of the beginner avatar. Hey, I just need somebody to send cold emails for me. And I was like, dude, if one more person asks me how to send a cold email, like I'm gonna lose my mind right now. I can't do it. So we started moving up market. I was acquiring all my clients from ads, and it felt weird to be saying, oh, do cold email. And here I was doing ads. So we started shifting to more people that were doing, which still is a small business, but people doing 50K a month, 100K a month, and they really needed to scale with ads. And then we started installing front-end systems like sales structures, VSLs, sales scripts, automations, Calendly.
Client acquisition.
Purely focused on client acquisition on the ad side. And then really had done that on a consulting side for the last 4 years. And then as I was talking about at the event here, we've been roughly capped on new units a month for like almost a year and a half. Like no matter how hard I worked, it just felt like the market was working against me. And I always think back to—
On that real quick. So, and that was predominantly paid. I know you were doing organic and YouTube, right? So this was kind of the after, like it was predominantly, we're gonna scale through the paid acquisition.
Ads, which I think is like, I run a YouTube agency, so I'm very bullish on YouTube, but I think if you're trying to do any kind of meaningful numbers, you can't really get away with it without doing paid ads.
I agree.
And so I knew that, okay, we're at this certain level here. I felt the marketplace shifting a little bit. I remember back when I was doing the VA service placement at the beginning, I mean, it was like, I could put a photo of my armpit on Facebook ads and I would get book calls for $15, like qualified people. And here I am, like low ticket offers, webinar offers. I was trying everything and I couldn't crack the code. And I am very much a, don't try to pivot to something new, like try to make it work. And I just felt like the constraint was the marketplace. I felt like because of AI, information so readily accessible, so unless I was gonna become a Hormozy or Grant Cardone as far as like famous and branding, in order to hit $100 million a year, which was my goal, I needed to do something that was a little bit more scalable. And so I'll keep a long story short, but there was a bunch of different options that I had in front of me of what I could do based on my assets, skill sets. We looked at paid media, but ultimately what we landed on, where I was thinking, what could the marketplace really use? What do I have a lot of social proof in? And what do I truly enjoy doing?
Yep.
It was YouTube. And it felt like, okay, this could be something that we really, really scale. And it's harder to find multiple 9-figure consulting companies. Like, they exist, but they're not nearly as prevalent as 9-figure agencies. Those
Correct.
are like, way more common. And so because of that, I saw a clearer path to that. And so as I was talking in there, I had a hypothesis. We created the ads, the VSL. We made a bunch of iterations, which maybe we can talk about here, and landed on where we're at right now, which is like YouTube, using content, specifically YouTube, to shorten sales cycles from when somebody hears of your brand for the first time through an ad or a lead or something to when they become a paying client.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, well, actually, before we go towards, like, I want to pick your brain selfishly on the YouTube stuff, and I'm sure, honestly, that would give everybody watching a ton of value, 100%.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think I would actually like to start with is, so you were in school for becoming a lawyer?
Becoming a lawyer, yeah.
Okay. So, and there's probably a lot of stories out there for this, but I was just on a podcast maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were talking about the driving factor behind getting into business, and then once you have a little success after that. And I'm curious because a lot of what I've seen around you specifically is, I'm not going to call it balance because I know you're a freaking psycho, just like all of us, right? But you're regimented, right? So like, there's certain things that I see that you do, and there's certain things that I see you not doing, where I'm like, it's probably due to a time or some kind of prioritization. So I'm curious on, as you've gone through these iterations, like even with my company, Sales Momentum, right? I asked Cole a question yesterday, and I was like, hey, we're at this point where the door has been constantly opening, right? I can quantify that we're leaving people that want to work with us that we could help, basically not able to serve them, right? And we can put a number to that, because they're not specifically on HubSpot.
Yes.
Right? So my question to him was, how much should we focus on the mechanism kind of strategy and really opening up kind of like our target market versus just tripling down? Because I am known as like the HubSpot guy, right? When people make intros or I get a text group, it's like, hey, this is the HubSpot guy,
Yeah.
I'm like, if I leave that, what am I?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think VAs to the system side to the YouTube side, it's almost like a reinvention each time a little bit, right? And a repositioning in the market. So I'm just curious on how you've approached that, because I run into people, especially here all the time, that are kind of in that, where they're like, hey, this keeps hitting me, right? These people keep asking me for this thing, and I know I could be valuable here. And I want to go towards this, but do I sit, right? And that is a hard thing to think through. So I'm curious, in your situations that you've been in, how do you think about going about that, and how much is it what you actually just want to chase down because you're excited about it versus like, my team, my infrastructure is all set up to do this one thing?
Yeah, that's
so
actually
I know
a great
that's
question.
a lot, but
it's a good question.
I'm curious on how you think about it.
Yeah, so there's a really great quote, which is, you can have anything, but you can't have everything. And so I think of that all the time inside business, because in the very beginning, I won't go into my full story, but I got into business because I really just wanted to make a lot of money. I was going to be a lawyer. I realized my dad got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. I realized how fragile life was. I realized I just want to be a lawyer to make a lot of money. And I figured there's actually better paths to making a lot of money than being a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
And so that was why I started my advertising agency, the first company. What I now realize, having made a decent amount of money and reaching a certain net worth level, there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Where it's like, in the very beginning, you're like, okay, I just need to pay rent and I just need to survive. And then it's like, okay, I can get a little bit nicer things. I'm thinking a week out or a month out or 2 months out. And then you eventually hit a level where it's like, okay, for me, like, just to try to quantify it a little bit, like a couple more $1 million a year is not going to significantly change my life by any means, right? Now, $80 million more a year, $100 million more a year, that would put me in a new stratosphere, right? Of like options, things for me to do, et cetera, et cetera. And I still remember, it was actually the first event I ever did. It was like a 300-person event. I pitched from stage. We did $1.2 million from stage, first time I ever pitched. And I remember feeling absolutely nothing after making $1 million a day. And that was in 2020 or 2021. And I remember being like, wow.
Was that the event in Miami?
Exactly, yeah. I had two.
The first one.
The first one.
Yep.
And I remember being like, wow, if I continue to just chase money like this, then I think I'm going to continuously be let down, and then I'm going to continuously need to go make more and more money. And so that was when I was first introduced to a concept called the Life Manifesto. And essentially, to try to keep it short, the idea that I was presented was like, okay, you can have anything, but how many people have actually sat down and said, this is exactly what I want my life to look like. This is the identity I have. This is what I surround myself with. This is where I live. This is what I do, et cetera, et cetera. So it's I think that in my opinion, it's actually the cheap way out, the easy way out to just be like, oh, I just want to make $50 million. I just want to make $100 million. Because it doesn't require any real skill or thought process to be like, oh, I'm going to make $100 million. Now, to be able to say, I want to make $100 million while I'm only working 30 hours a week and I'm a present father and I'm in good shape, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now you start to have what are called constraints. Now it's like, okay, well then you can only work this many hours a week and you have to only focus on the things that are going to be huge, huge leverage points for you.
Right.
So going back to what you were saying earlier, when I was writing out my life manifesto, I realized that, okay, to get this next level, I can't be doing base hits, right? I can't be doing something that, okay, this will make me an extra $1 million a year, an extra $2 million a year. I need to be something that was like, what's the thing that's going to make me $30 million a year, or $50 million a year, or $100 million a year? And so a great example is what you're saying a moment ago. Like, you know, should you become the overall sales guy, or should you use your brand equity inside of HubSpot? Well, you know, the real question is like, you obviously are going to continuously be presented with better and better opportunities the better you get at your job and the more you scale.
Right.
And so it's your ability to say no to those opportunities that's going to determine whether you make a couple more $1 million a year or you make tens of millions of dollars more a year.
Right.
Now, the opportunity vehicle matters greatly. There's no doubt about that.
Sure.
But I think HubSpot's probably the largest CRM in the world, I would imagine. And so
Behind Salesforce.
Okay, so Salesforce and HubSpot.
Yep.
So the question is like, not necessarily should you become the overall sales guy and help these people with these other areas here, but I think the question would be more, I don't know what your goal would be revenue-wise, and we're just talking about money here. We can talk about anything else you want to, but like whatever your revenue goal is there a realistic scenario where whatever your lifetime value is, that many units you need to do a year, is that realistic in your total addressable market? And I would imagine it's not like you're doing like this CRM that nobody's ever heard of and it's tiny.
The market is growing.
Exactly.
And it's like the room that we're just in, right? I would say mixed bag, let's call it 50%, are smaller on the GHL spectrum, or maybe close, active, you know, campaign, like kind of maybe a mixed mash of different stuff. And then you have the larger players, and it's a HubSpot.
Yeah, we're on HubSpot.
Right, 100%. So, and those are who I love to work with, right? So those are like my hero clients, using your verbiage, right?
Sure.
Setter closer team, strong leadership team, right? High volume in sales, right? And they need to basically re-solidify the foundation so that they can actually approach sales operations.
And what's the lifetime value for you for those people?
So year one, probably around 60,000. Yeah.
Dude, I don't know what your goal is, but 60K LTV year one, I would go way deeper in that.
Well, so here's kind of like our big unlock as of the last like 12, 14 months. So we've been doing a lot of strategic alignment with a lot of affiliate plays that play really, really well with our client base because we're in their systems, right? So that actually exponentially, it's a lifetime as long as they're on this platform, right? So there's all these different plays that we're starting to figure out where it's like the net new client doesn't need to be massive, right? So that's where I like the niche, like go super hard down, because maybe one of these clients is worth 4 or 5 of these others, right? But going back to what you're saying, like, I don't know if this will make sense to you, but I heard it as, first I'm running to take care of my needs, right? And then you're setting criteria around anything past that.
Yes.
Right?
Well,
and
you've probably already covered your needs at this point.
Right.
Yes.
So then it becomes, if you just keep chasing that same dragon, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? I mean, there's a million doors open to you if you want to make 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, but then it becomes, if you want to make 30 million and, right, now you have a much more directional approach to it. And to your point that you were stating, at least this is kind of how it came in my mind. I don't know why. I don't play baseball, but I was like, if you're down and it's late in the game, you're not going for a base hit.
You're going for a home run.
100%, right? So the longer that, I mean, how old are you now?
31.
31, okay. So I just turned 29, and it hit me now. I'm like, okay, I don't have a super long time in this game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, business is a long game, and I think the only thing I'll caveat it is like, people are going to be like, oh, go for a home run. Like, no, you should do base hits and you stack on the bases, et cetera, et cetera.
Of course.
So I don't want to go too down that like thing, because I think it would pull out of the intention here. The intention is, I have a saying I tell my team, but constraints are what make life fun. So anybody can go out there and work 24 hours a day for 50 years and make $100 million. Like, I think that, and once again, people are gonna get upset here, the hard worker and the janitor, like, I get it, but you said your audience.
I think the people you're speaking to will be like, all right.
So, okay, so anybody can make money. There's no doubt about it. So the question is then, like, okay, how do you make money? How happy are you when you're making this money? What does your life look like, et cetera, et cetera? And those constraints are gonna be, like a great example was, our average upfront ticket price previously was $12,000. Now our average is $36,000.
Right.
So I 3x'd it. I'm working with 1/3 of the amount of clients, and these people are also more sophisticated, so they're more fun to work with. I can get them better results, et cetera, et cetera. And it was just that confidence and that courageousness to be like, okay, even though this is making us all this money right now, I'm actually going to turn this tap off, and I'm only going to focus on these people here. And it was definitely a risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's absolutely being like, okay, if I know that I can have and we won't have to get into the whole universal abundance thing, but I actually am a student of that, and I do believe money is infinite and you can have anything that you want. And so I think that if you're able to sit down and say, this is what I want, and I'm only going to do it by doing it, going through this route, that level of clarity, I don't know, just for me, it
drives you.
Yeah, it makes life more fun.
I agree. And that's kind of the phase I'm in right now, where it's like, what do I want and how do I want to get there?
Yes.
Right? And I'm operating a whole new level now, right? Just because I don't even have that figured out yet.
Yeah.
But just because I know that is where my brain is at now.
And to add on that, one of the things, once you write this down, this has been what's been really transformational for me. So I was talking about the critical constraint method in there, and I was talking about, okay, you identify the constraint, you eliminate it, but then the part that everybody misses is you reinforce it. So if you were to say, okay, this is what I want, this is who I am, this is the constraints I want to create in my life. Well, if you decided this today, 4 months from now, when somebody's like, yo, I'll pay you $30,000 if you do everything you're doing in HubSpot over and go high level, it's very easy for you to be like, okay, I'll just do it for this one person over here. And so what I do is I read my life manifesto every single morning, and that way I reinforce that expectation of who I am and what I want to do. So that way when the world presents opportunities to me,
it's easy
whether it's like eating unhealthy or staying up late or doing something that I don't want my best self to be, I've already thought this morning, like, no, this is who I am now. So then when those things presented to me, it's easier to say no than when I decided I wanted to do this 6 months ago. Well,
you also don't get the mental fatigue of sitting there with the, should I do this?
Should I not do this? It's
100%.
So much. And I'm not saying I'm perfect and I do it I'm just saying that it's easier to know what to do when you review it on a daily basis.
100%. And I love that just because, again, 20s, I felt like for me were just, one, I wanted to make money first, right? And get out of kind of the hole. Then it was like, I want to be seen from the peers that I look up to on a eye-to-eye basis, not like this, right? So that's when I got really deep into really sales momentum, right? And I started working with clients who I was reading their books, and now all of a sudden I'm building their systems, right? Yeah. So it was like this paradigm shift of like, oh wow, okay, I have value here, right? But there was a phase where I started chasing all these different rabbits, right? And it was the most miserable I've ever been. But I was making a lot of money, right? So it's just interesting having that perspective, and sometimes just like, even just talking to you about it right now, I'm like looking back, I'm like seeing the dots connect, and I'm like, ah, shit, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they say hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah. Well, so all right, taking a completely different transition. So your offer right now, from what I understand, right? So you're still helping on the acquisition systems from, I don't want to butcher this, but you are predominantly focused on YouTube, right? The longer format content, specifically around really shortening sales cycles and helping bring in more ideal clients, right? In a healthier way that won't constrain fulfillment. Going back to what we're talking about, you don't have 6 of the different people coming in, right? Which can't happen from paid, right?
Sure.
At least from my experience, like I just started really like aggressively learning paid and marketing and all these things. And it's very interesting what you get from 3 months of content, right? Versus 3 months of spend, right? This you learn faster, but this I would say creates a little bit more of like a stable, it's a weird flow, right? Because like I put a ton of stuff out and I don't see much, right? But then 6 months later, I'm like, where'd you come from? Oh, I saw this video.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, okay, that's great. And you're an awesome client, right? With paid, you can get those people, but I'm almost looking at paid for me right now as like, kind of what you were talking about in there, right? And if you want to briefly cover some of the concept around your marketing qualifying agents, your sales qualifying agents, your components, because I texted my team and I sent them pictures. I was like, hey, do this like now, right? Like I want to see this. Because we were spending so much time on the backside consuming it, and we set a meeting. So like one thing that we really believe is like if we're gonna set something that we're gonna look at, it needs to go into the calendar, right? So that's how we reinforce, we call it rhythm,
sure.
right? Behind the operations side. Because like what we've done is we set a bunch of analysis or reporting, right? And then I'm like, when's the last time you looked at it, right? I'm like, oh, so they're reacting to what the data is telling us, not being super proactive about it. So the one thing that I've been able to do is set my team up with cadence around what they're consuming,
nice.
Right? So it's, okay, every Friday we're coming back to the 3 agents that you set up in there, and we're making decisions from that. So it's not Tuesday or 3 weeks from now, it's every Friday,
yeah.
Right? So for me, and I think this will be relevant for everybody, we're spending probably 50, 70 grand, right? We're scaling back up. Long format is something that I'm just getting comfortable with in front of a camera. How much of it do you see as like, go really hard on paid, right? To gain all this insight super, super quickly, versus like throw a lot of content out organically. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like what I'm asking?
It does make sense. It's a good question. You know, first of all, I think that for the last, 5, 6 years I've been in the market, it was always either you're heavy on paid,
yeah,
or you're heavy in organic
100%,
content.
yeah.
What is happening now is that you have to do both if you even want to compete in today's marketplace.
I agree with that,
There's
yeah.
nobody I know that are doing significant numbers that aren't doing a form of both in one way or the other, right? And so if you have to do both, well, let's go back to the constraints again, right? So you're asking me what to do. The question is, well, what do you ultimately want? I would imagine you want to work with your dream clients that are the least amount of a pain in the ass, that pay you the most money, and you're profitably acquiring clients. If that was your ideal setup, and you want to do the least amount of work possible, you know, first of all, I don't do shorts after doing 5 years of it, 3 reels a day, because first of all, you know, I'll even talk about, Cole was just telling me this yesterday at dinner, but like, you know, they went hard on shorts for 3 months, blah, blah, not one single additional sale that they were getting after doing it for 3 months,
yeah.
right? So for me, it's never really shown to be a really great acquisition channel for short form content. I also hate trying to package all of the expertise and everything that I want to talk about
30 seconds.
into a 30 or 60 second reel. And like, now I'm competing with these OnlyFans girls and these all other entertainment videos.
Yep.
And so my constraint was like, okay, I want to be on organic, but I don't want to be a dancing monkey on shorts, right?
Yeah.
So I decided to go all in on YouTube. And I won't go deep into why YouTube, but I decided to go all in on YouTube. Now, for you, it's like, okay, do you go hard on content? Do you go hard on ads? Is your goal you want to try to scale the company as fast as possible?
Right
while
now,
still serving clients?
So here's the, I would say, constraint.
Yeah.
Right? The sales team needs to scale.
Yeah.
Right? Paid produces enough repetition
Sales team
quickly.
needs to scale in the sense of you need to hire more salespeople, or they need more opportunities?
They need more opportunities,
Okay.
and then also more opportunities means I can hire better talent on
Okay.
the sales side, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of where my brain is at.
Yeah.
And then also the paid gives us really fast feedback.
Yes.
Right? But where I have fun and where more, I would say it's very far and few, but when we can sit down and like look at a specific client that comes in, we're like, damn.
Yeah.
Right? That typically happens from they see an event or they go to YouTube or right? So there's consumption there, right? So I think the ultimate goal is to be able to fully remove myself from sales, right? I need to be able to bring in a little bit better talent, and I need to be able to feed that talent more consistently, right? Therefore, I can come out a little bit further, right? Because I'm always going to be I like sales, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to need to be there, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of the dilemma, is like, we know the organic stuff works really well, but we need the volume, right?
Yeah, so if you need volume and speed, you have to do ads.
Correct.
No doubt about it. Organic is unbelievable. That's why we shifted the messaging from like get more clients to shorten your sales cycle and increase trust from your leads you're already getting, because YouTube's a long-term play.
Sure.
And like you said, like, okay, you're posting now, and in 6 months from now, you might be getting a client from it. And okay, for you, that's $60,000. So like, that's actually good.
It's worth it, yeah.
And there's also this probably a decent percentage of people that are coming in from ads that, whether you track it or not, are consuming some of your content through YouTube as well. And that might be one of the reasons they're closing.
Yep.
And so,
are you using Hyros, or what are you actually using for attribution back to YouTube?
we're using Hyros, and then we use Microsoft Clarity to see people's activities across our funnels and websites and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay, so in your specific scenario, here's my thought process. So first of all, many businesses have failed because they need to fill a sales team's calendar. So like, that was like one of the things that when you were saying, I was like, okay, don't not try to make that the North Star, because I feel like that short-term thinking can cause you to do some of the like shiny object things that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Versus like filling up 1, 2, 3 person sales calendar, then like, oh, I have so many people. But
Yep.
first thing that you need to do is what I was talking about in there. You need some kind of objective system for identifying whether this person should be on your calendar or not, right?
Yep.
So what I was talking about in there, and this is what we do with our clients, is we'll install this, we call it a marketing qualification bot. It measures people in 3 separate areas. Structurally, are they a good fit? Do they make enough money? Do they have high enough LTV, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Strategically, are they a good fit? Are they saying stuff on the sales call like, I need to shorten my sales cycle, I have a trust gap, et cetera, et cetera? Or are they saying stuff like, I need more leads, I need views, I need a client tomorrow, right? Yep. And then psychologically, are they, what is their urgency level? Like, are they like, hey, I'm trying to move forward today? Or like, oh, I was just kind of curious in what you did, and I'm not in, like, well, I'll do it in 6 months or something like that. So once you can objectively create this scorecard, then what happens is it's a little bit less about like YouTube or organic, and it's more just about how do we get as high of a number here as humanly possible.
Yep.
And so we used to be constantly, it was, YouTube used to be bring us the best clients, and ads were like, the worst clients, essentially, if you just put them on a dichotomy.
Yep.
Well, the reason that was happening was because I was optimizing ads not for the best clients, but I was optimizing it for what would give me the lowest cost per click, lowest cost per lead, lowest cost per acquisition, lowest cost per booked call, right? Which would typically will be you're having to lower your standards, work with different people, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
On the other side, on YouTube, I'm creating content that is specifically for my dream clients and that I love to talk about. And so that's obviously attracting the ideal client, but it's difficult to scale that, right? So once you have this endpoint here, which is this marketing qualification bot, so out of 100, our KPI is 65 plus. Now you can just figure out, okay, how do I adjust these different traffic sources in order to be all sending at the same time 65, 70, 75 plus people? And so I'll give you an example. Even a month ago, our average marketing qualification bot over a 14-day rolling window was 55, right?
Yep.
In the last 14 days, it's 72. And those are all, I mean, we're getting, let's say 80% of traffic from paid ads right now. We're heavy on paid ads. And so all I did was I just constantly started taking what people were saying on the sales calls and what made them qualified, and I just kept on pushing it further and further up into the pre-call messaging sequence, into the thank you page video, into the sales script, into the video sales letter page, and the sales page copy, and into the ads themselves. And so ultimately, in a first principles basis, ads and organic content are the exact same thing. You're showing something to somebody, you're getting their interest, and they're booking a call. So they should be able to produce very similar clients or prospects. The only reason they don't is because you're creating super ideal, you're optimizing for quality on content, and you're optimizing for volume on ads.
Right.
And so if you were to do that exact same thing and push that up and only speak to those people, sure, your cost per booked call might increase, your cost per acquisition might increase, et cetera, but at a 60K LTV, you have room to run with that. And now you're able to, on demand, you might get 30% of the book calls that you're getting right now, which once again is why you don't want to get ads just to fill sales calendars, because then your sales team is going to be upset that they're not getting more opportunity.
Yeah.
So you might have 30% of the book calls, but now you're at a 40% close rate or 50% close rate.
100%.
All of these people are ideal. You're getting a 75 plus on the marketing score, and you're able to now just turn the dial up on ads and get more and more of those people.
100%. No, that makes a ton of sense. And on the specific side of these bots that you're creating,
Sure.
Are you using Fathom and then tying that into Claude to transcribe, or are you using Fathom's actual feature in there for the
Scoring. I looked at their feature, but no, it was just too subjective. So I'm using Fathom to get the transcripts because I love it because you get it immediately when the call's done. Zoom's like hours long. So we immediately get the transcript, and then I pretty much created a AI prompt using ChatGPT Playground, where I was essentially taking the previous 300, 400 calls that we did, and I was actually saying, irregardless of outcome. That was a really important thing, because the problem when you're like, so people are like, only feed it your best clients. Well, first of all, you're always gonna have less clients than you are sales calls, and anybody that's done anything in AI knows that the more data you can give it, typically the better it is. And so so let's take away clients. The other downside of the clients versus sales calls is that the number of clients you have, at least in our industry, is directly proportional to how good your salespeople are on those sales calls. And so I could be having amazing people who are not becoming clients because the sales team is dropping the ball for whatever reason.
100%.
So that's why we focus only on sales calls, and then we're essentially trying to figure out, okay, from these sales calls, I talked about those 3 sections there, but what makes this person quote unquote qualified? And we like, there's specific rules to this prompt. Like, it can't infer anything. It has to be specifically stated. It says specific timestamps there. And we essentially created this thing to say this person should or should not be in the pipeline, and we look at all the things that you'd be interested in. Their application, their sales call transcript, how accurate their application is then on the actual sales call, what they're saying on the sales call. And then we're also able to, instead of a salesperson saying, this person's not qualified, I'm going to DQ them, and now it's not going to hurt my KPIs. Now we're having this bot say, should this person be DQ'd or not?
100%.
Now we have an objective way to do it. So I'm using Fathom, a very specific in-depth prompt from OpenAI that I did after doing a bunch of sales calls. And then we're sending it out to a Google Sheet and then also to Slack. And of course, the final part of this whole thing is I created that, and then there's the iterations, right? So then I did that like a month ago or whatever, and then it was like, okay, every day I review what this is saying. First of all, is this accurate? Second of all, is there any kind of correlation with a higher score and more closes? There should be at least some kind of correlation, even though sales is being involved.
Am I tying the right data into what I should be looking at?
Or is it looking at the right thing? Is it assuming, is it correct in saying, essentially, this person should close? That's the final piece of the marketing qualification bot. It actually gives out of 5 the likelihood that this person should close, and it doesn't actually look at the outcome of the call. And so is it assuming it correctly? And of course, nothing's ever perfect, but if it's getting me the right trend, and I'm doing that literally within a minute of the call being done, well, when you're spending $5,000, $10,000 a day on ads, you're able to really quickly be like, okay, this ad, even though it's getting us a bunch of book calls, all of these book calls are 50s or below, so let's cut that off. Even though they're lower cost per book call, let's cut that off. This one here, we haven't closed any yet, but they're 75s or above. So we know they should be on the calendar, so let's leave that there, and then let's maybe look on the sales side as a reason why the ball is being dropped.
100%, I love it. I mean, we've been doing a ton of analysis on sales calls for sales purposes, but not on like the marketing side. So like, I mean, makes sense.
And
it makes a ton of sense.
I even said in there, at the events, but like a lot of people see marketing and sales, right? Especially larger companies have different departments for it. Where you got to think on the end consumer, it's all one spectrum. It's like, I don't see it as marketing and sales. I see it as like my experience with your industry. So instead of saying 1,000 different things, 1,000 different ways, essentially from the ad itself all the way to the sales call, I'm essentially saying the exact same thing over and over and over again. And it is 100%. That consistency that's increasing our overall conversions.
100%. No, I love it. I mean, it's specifically for me right now, because we're like obsessed over, well, how do we filter people out on the landing page and all of these different things? And like, we're spending too much time hypothesizing, right? I want to spend more, so I'm pushing my guys. I'm like, okay, we got to spend more. But then it comes back the confidence of what I'm doing. Is this going to make it better, and are we going to, right? So just having those little confluences I think would just give you peace. Like for me, like I'm gonna look at this for the next 7-10 days, right?
Yeah, and say like, am I on the right
And then
track?
I can get, guys, pull it down.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
to even what you just said a second ago, the thing that was the biggest influence on the marketing qualification score was not the landing page, it was the ad call out in the very beginning. What I said in the first 10 seconds was gonna be a larger determiner of whether that person was going to be a 70 or above, or was going to be a 50 or below. And so now we spend a lot of time on the first couple seconds of the ad. And I used to try to get fancy with it. And now it's like, if you're doing over $100,000 a month and your calls take 2 to 4 calls to close, you're paying a massive trust tax. And so now it's like, and then on the sales call, one of the words that we look for people to say is trust tax, or people say, and that'll boost them up in the score, because if they're using our own terminology, then you should close that.
That was going to be my next question, is how much are you tying the actual vernacular and verbiage that they're using to the actual?
Oh, it's so there's 3 scores I have. Structural, strategic, and psychological readiness. They're weighted differently, so it's not like I just add those 3 scores together to get the overall
blended,
score.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, it's I weight them, and the heaviest weighted one is the strategic alignment, because I've done marketing for a couple of years now, and there's one thing that every salesperson has ever said to me, and is that if they come in speaking the language, I'm way higher chance of closing that person, right? Because I'm not having to tell them, oh no, there's something called trust tax, you're not doing it. They're getting on the call and being like, look, Ravi, everything you said in the ad, I'm experiencing right now. We are paying a huge trust tax, and it's causing us to go into 3-4 sales calls. And so when our sales team hears that, like I've seen calls, they start smiling. You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, this is going to be a good call."
Perfect.
You know what I mean? So like,
I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah.
I hate to use the term brainwash, but in some ways, you're getting these people into your cult to see their business the way that you see it. And then the nice thing, not to get too deep inside of it in marketing, but when you own words like trust tax and the trust engine, stuff like that, well, then when somebody tries to solve that trust tax problem, you are the only person that can solve it, because you created the word in the first place. You know what I mean? So
100%.
that also leads, but to answer your question, strategic alignment is what we call it. Them saying those words is the heaviest weight for how qualified somebody is for us.
I love it. Well, one last question here, and then we'll wrap up, because I think they're doing dishes or something behind us. So obviously right now, like I've been to a lot of events recently. Everyone's talking low ticket, VSL, webinar, all these different things. How much do you see, because what I've been thinking is like, all right, what mechanism does my audience actually engage with, right? And like that's how I approached it without knowing marketing, because I was like, all right, well, my people aren't going to do this, right? Why? Because I wouldn't. You know what I mean? So like when I'm looking at these different things, and a higher end, more sophisticated buyer, my hypothesis is just direct to the point, like very short and snappy, and get them through, right? And qualify, right? But then on our low ticket right now, because that's what we've proven to work for us, it allows us to play, right? Because we're liquidating our spend. So it's just like, we can play so differently, right, with it. But also I think that's maybe hurting how aggressively we go towards figuring out to what you just said, right? Like actually spending that time there, right? As opposed to like, oh, this will just like, it's kind of working, right? Have you ever played with like the low ticket, the webinar, like all these things? And now that you're in, what you're doing now, I think fits the ICP of like who we work with very well. Because our clients, I mean, all the time, like they talk to us too, like, hey, I want to shorten the sales cycle, I want to do these things, right? And we work just on the sales side, right? Just lead in through, right? We don't touch anything before that.
Sure.
But I know a lot of the reason I'm bringing this up is everybody's constantly trying to figure out the funnel they should use, right? And I'm in that boat, right? So do you just see traditional like VSL app straight through, like?
Yeah, so for me, I always say the best funnel to scale is the one that's already working. Because I think that all marketing works, and you can make any of them work. And I used to have a business to consumer offer doing $8 million a year, and it was purely low ticket. Every single client was from paid ads. Everything was through a low ticket funnel.
Was that the
Remote Integrator Academy?
Yep. Okay.
Yep. So super successful. Ran that through paid ads. I've also, for scalable systems, even last year we did webinar funnels, mid tickets, low tickets, challenges. So I've done almost everything under the sun.
Yeah.
So ultimately what I figured out was the constraint wasn't the funnel that I was using, it was the offer I had and who I was attracting through those funnels, right?
Sure.
So now, all that being said, I personally believe that the best marketing system is the most robust. The most robust marketing system is typically the simplest marketing system.
Yeah.
And so the issue with me with challenges, webinars, low tickets, all that stuff, is that there's so many moving parts of that stuff. Like even low ticket, you know, I know there's a guy here who's doing like 5 million a month on low ticket, so I'm not trashing it. It works really well. But I have done it myself, and you got to get the ad right, you got to get the sales page right, then the checkout page, then the OTO, then the DOTO, then the second OTO, then the second DOTO, then the product itself.
And then you have to go to the sales team.
Yeah, and then you have to get them to ascend into the actual sales calls themselves. So you're talking about, like, let's say, hundreds, if not
16
thousands
gears
of variations.
and,
It's so difficult to get that down. Where if you took that same energy and just took it to an ad, and a video sales letter with an application of booking, you could probably have a higher return on investment from the ad and VSL.
There's less moving variances across all of the different
like
components,
and I will tell you, even right now, so like we're constantly adjusting the marketing system based on feedback we're getting on sales calls. Even right now, every pivot we make, like we recently changed the headline from becoming the dominant authority in your industry to use YouTube to shorten your sales cycle, which has been great. That has been huge for blowing cost per book call. But just changing that one thing, well, now I have to go shoot a new video sales letter, and then I have to adjust the bullet points on the actual application form. I have to ask new questions in the application. I have to launch new ads. I have to change the sales script, the pre-call messaging, just because of this one headline change that I did, so that everything's congruent end to end, right? So it's already going to be a lot of work to do. So I would like to try to update as little things as possible, so I can iterate faster and faster. And just to your credit, like, first of all, I don't know if I've ever bought a low ticket digital product from anybody before. Second of all, I don't. I've been on one full webinar in my entire life, and it was Ty Lopez's SMA, which is why I started my agency, which was 7 years ago,
back
6
in the
years
day.
ago. Yeah, exactly. And I've never done a challenge or an event or anything like that before. So like, you know, and I will tell you, the people that we work with, their biggest constraint's not money, it's time. They don't have enough time to go through stuff. And just as a fun fact in the low ticket, we found that less than 30% of people that purchase the low ticket product ever consumed the content inside the low ticket product itself, right? Because you can see who logs in, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not even doing the thing that you want them to do. So I personally think that if you can get the VSL funnel to work, add direct call out, your time would be better spent on that and slowly making minor tweaks, because you also obviously, the other part we haven't talked about at all is the sales team. You also have to optimize the sales team, this whole structure. So I think you'd be better off just doing the VSL funnel and making it so that they don't have to do a 4-day challenge or watch a 2-hour webinar or consume this product, because you've done such a good job at addressing their pain point, talking to them like a peer, and then creating an offer that's very difficult to say no to. If you can do that, I think it'll be way easier than any of the other funnels.
I agree, and you're also, I think the premium that you can put on the actual offer itself
is going to be way higher.
100%. I mean, B2B, B2C, this is going to be very different, right? But I mean, I completely agree with that. And the only question I would have, and this is purely selfish, right?
Sure.
Is there a reason you don't have an opt-in going to the actual app?
App itself?
Yeah. Are you just using straight app?
For context, we run ads directly to the video sales or the application below it. 2 parts. Number one, we tested it and we got an overall lower cost per qualified book call by driving it direct. Number two, you know, what I've learned that matters almost more than anything that we've talked about so far is the data that you feed the pixel. And so whenever you launch a new campaign, you typically have to do whatever event you can get at least 30 conversions of per ad set in a week. And so it's almost never going to be book calls unless you're coming out swinging with ad spend. So it's almost always going to be leads. And so the problem with optimizing for leads on an opt-in form is that all you have is name, email, and maybe phone number. And so these people could all be broke, and you're selling, great job, Facebook, get me more of these broke people. Where if you're making the lead be the application submission and you're asking qualifying questions like your lifetime value, their marketing spend, your revenue.
You can take that.
You can remove all those don't send that back to Facebook, only send the qualified people. And like when we first started, our cost per book call was way higher for these qualified people, but over time it's lowered. And part of that is because of the marketing dialing in that we've done. But also I bet you a part of it is now we've sent hundreds, if not thousands, of pixel fires of these qualified people back to Meta. And so it's learning faster and faster from those people.
100%, dude. Well, I appreciate it so much, dude. I've learned a ton. Where can people find you and what's next for you guys? I'll let you kind of
talk about here.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for having me on. Congratulations on the podcast. This is awesome. Great
Yeah,
job.
dude.
For us, the company's name is Scaling with Systems. If you are a bigger business doing over 100K a month and you do have issues with the trust tax, the sales cycle, et cetera, you can go to scalingwithsystems.com, book a call there. And next thing for us is just literally continue to get better at this one offer, continue dialing the messaging, continue dialing the fulfillments, and I would like to exit this company in the next 4 to 6 years. That was one of the big reasons I made the pivot,
Okay.
and so that's why I'm going all in on this right now.
I love it, dude. Well, excited, and we'll have to do another one soon.
Appreciate it,
dude.
Thank you.
Thank you.